Hey, I'm Ian Young from the Learning Shack, and today I thought we'd talk about slope, an important concept in algebra. So, there's a few different ways that you can represent slope here, which is confusing to some people. So I thought I'd first go through and explain what those ways are, and then we'd solve a problem down here. What slope is basically when you have an angle and you're climbing, let's say, a hill, and the slope just represents how steep that hill is. So one way that you can represent this is what's called slope-intercept, which basically shows you y, which represents the y-axis, m, which is the slope or the angle, x, which is the x-axis right here, and b, which is called the y-intercept, or the place where the slope is going to cross the y-axis. Some of this stuff will make more sense as we actually go through and solve an example. Another way that you can represent slope is using this equation right here, which just shows us m, which stands for slope. And slope, what it really is just the difference between 2 points that have 2 y coordinates and 2 points that are x coordinates. So, say we had like 3, 4, and 6, 7. This represents an x, and this represents a y. This represents an x, and this represents a y. We're just going to take the difference between the y's and divide it by the difference between the x's. That's all slope is. So let's take a look now at a little more advanced equation here. This is what you're going to use here is what's called point slope. So point slope you'd use to solve something that says, say, like, find the line that contains the point 3, 4 and it has a slope of 2. So once again, what we said was that 3, 4 would be in x, comma, y. This is a coordinate right here. So what we want to do first is define what is our slope. Our slope is m, so we write down m equals 2, and then we know that we have the point 3, 4, which is the xy. So what we want to do, since we're trying to find the line is going to look like this. This is what a line looks like when it's represented. So what we want to do is we want to use this equation here, but we're going to manipulate it slightly. Anytime you see something like this, what this is basically a proportion. The thing is, if we have nothing written here, we can always put it over 1. So this is something you can always do. And with a proportion, what you can do, if you have an equal sign there, is you can cross multiply. So we can actually get another equation out of this. That equation is going to be the point slope equation we're going to use. So let's do that right now. So what we're going to do is 1 times the y1 minus y. So we have y1 minus y. And then that's going to be equal to m times the x1 minus x. So what happens right here is now we have our m and we have our point. So let's call this point x1, comma, actually call this x, comma, y. So let's just plug everything in. That's all we need to do. The nice thing about this equation is once we have it set up, we just plug stuff straight in. So our y1, we're just going to write y. And then our y coordinate is 4. So we put a 4 there. What's our m? Our m is 2. Our x1 we leave. And our x comes from here, which is 3. Now once we have that, what we can do is we can solve it just using algebra techniques that we may have learned from before. So what's 2 times x would be 2x. And then 2 times negative 3 is minus 6. And then this is going to be equal to y minus 4. Now if you notice, I just got rid of these 1's right here. The 1 is sort of like a placeholder. It's just to show you that we have something that's different from what these numbers are down here. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes you'll see this written with a 1. Sometimes it'll be written with just a y or just an x. So I'm just going to get rid of it to keep it simple. So we have y minus 4 equals 2x minus 6. The next step is we add 4 to both sides. I'm just going to move this guy up over here for a little more room. So what happens if this 4 is gone is we have y equals 2x, and then 6, negative 6 and positive 4 is minus 2. So this right here, you notice, looks a lot like that right there, right? This is what we've done is we've taken point slope form and we've actually found slope intercept form. So this is our equation right here, y equals 2x minus 2. Now, for extra credit, let's try graphing this guy. So what we need to do is, to graph it, we need to write in some little marks here. And this is where we'll actually be able to see what the slope looks like. So once again, we said that we have a y-intercept and we have a slope. The first thing you want to put on the graph here is the y-intercept. So what's our y-intercept right here? It's -2. -2 means where on the axis does it cross, or where on the y-axis does the line cross. So what we do is we start at the origin, which is 0, 0, and we move towards that number. So this is -2, so it'd be right there. So this point would be 0, -2, and that's going to be our intercept. The next thing we're going to do to graph the slope is, again, if there's nothing written under here, you can assume this is like a 1 right there. And the definition of slope is rise over run. So what we want to do is we want to rise up the number that's on the top, and then we want to run across the bottom the number that's on the bottom. So that's how you get your staircase. Rise, run, rise, rise up, run across. So right here, we're going to rise up 2, and then we're going to run across 1. We're going to rise up 2, and then we're going to run across 1. And what we've created here is a line. Now we just connect the dots as straight as we possibly can without using the ruler. And we're good to go. So what we've just found is the slope of the line y equals 2x minus 2. I'm Ian Young. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.